Hi, this is Kandia in the Kandia Hainsworth Design Studio and the official classroom for the Sew It and Show It workshops. Today we're going to make a table runner with a border. Here's what you're going to need. Two different types of fabric. One, probably a solid or a subtle print, such as this one, and one with a print. Or you can use whatever colors and prints that you desire. One for the front and one for the back. You're also going to need two tassels. Now the tassels are optional. I happen to like tassels on runners, so we're going to use tassels today. A pair of scissors. You can also use a rotary cutter instead of scissors, but we're using scissors today. Stick pins, your sewing machine, an iron, and chalk. Now this is just regular sidewalk chalk. So this is not the fancy chalk that some of the sewists use here on YouTube. And you're also going to need a tape measure. This is a retractable one that I also give to my students when they start the workshops. And you're going to need that to measure your table. Let's get started. First, you want to measure your table to decide how long your table needs to be. Make sure you take into consideration your table runner extending past the end of the table if you are the kind of person that likes your table runners to hang over. I happen to like my table runners hanging over, so the hanging over length have to be added to the length of the table. So for example, let's say for example this is the table, and let's say after measuring it, it measured 72 inches long, okay? But let's say the table runner is going to hang over like so. You would have to decide how long you want your table runner to extend. Some people like it 2 inches, some people like it 4 inches, some people like it 6 inches. But keep in mind, if you're going to put a tassel onto the end of the table, you don't want the tassel hanging onto your guest or whoever is sitting at the end of the table. So take that into consideration. But overall, if your table measures 72 inches long and then your extended hangover material was 4 inches long, it's going to be 4 inches on each side. So it would be 4 inches on this side and 4 inches on that side. So it would be 72 inches long, plus 4 inches here and 4 inches here. That would make it 80 inches. Plus, you have to add a ½ inch for the seam allowance, which is 1 inch in total. So you would cut both fabrics. Remember, we have two fabrics at 81 inches long if that was your table, okay? So if we were your table runner's width depends on your preference. Decide how wide you would like your table runner to be. This table runner will be 18 inches wide. Now you have to decide which will be your border and which will be your display fabric. I'm using this fabric as my border, and this will be the display fabric. So all that means is that this is going to be the predominantly fabric that's shown, and this will be the border. Okay, the border fabric is going to be measured 18 inches wide, and the display fabric is going to be measured 15 inches wide. Both fabrics are going to be measured whatever length of your table and your extended hang is. So for example, we talked about 81 inches long, so we're going to act like I'm going to cut both fabrics 81 inches long. This one is going to be 15 inches wide, and the border is going to be 18 inches wide. I've already measured the border fabric at the 18 inches wide. Now I'm doing the display fabric at the 15 inches wide. So I just turned it over on the right side down, and I'm just going to mark it with the chalk at 15 inches. And use my yardstick to mark the line that I'm going to cut. And here's where your rotary tool comes into play very nicely. But I'm using the scissors today, and I'm just cutting on that chalk line. You also want to make sure that you cut off the salvage edges as well. So I'm going to turn this on the right side up. And trim off the salvage edge. And if your fabric looks like mine, a little bit of wrinkles here, take it to the ironing board and press it out. You don't want to pin your fabric in place when it's wrinkled this way. After you've pressed your fabrics, you want to place your border fabric right side up, and you want to place your display fabric right side up as well. This is going to give you an idea of how your table runner is going to look. So if you would like your borders to be a little bit wider, then you need to trim down the sides of your display fabric. This is the time to do it. So just kind of step back, take a look. If you like the way it looks, then you want to leave your border right side up, and then place your display fabric right side down. Now we're going to move the display fabric edge to edge. So we're going to pair up the right side of this display fabric with the right side of the border fabric, edge to edge. And then we're going to pin in place. And after you pin this in place, you're going to take it to the sewing machine. But we're only doing one side. We're not sewing all the way around. Now the next step is going to be doing the other side, but I want to take it step by step. So first we're going to take this part to the sewing machine and make one stitch down the line, and then we're going to come back and we're going to pin the other part in place. Okay, so we have sewn a seam line on one end, and now it should look like this. So it should look a bit uneven at this point, and this is exactly the way it should look, so don't get nervous. Now we're going to take this edge and pull it over to this edge and pin it in place the same way we did this, and you should get a little lip just like that. Don't worry, it's supposed to look like that. But once again, we're going to pin it in place and then take it to the sewing machine, and then we'll come right back on to the next step. Okay, so here's what you're going to end up with. You're going to end up with the 18-inch wide side, the width that was 18 inches bulked up like so. And then on the reverse side, where we had that 15-inch width, it's going to be flat. And it's going to look like a tube. So you want to reach in there and turn it inside out. And you should start to see your border forming. And you'll decide if you like it or not at this point. And you just want to put your display fabric in the center and your borders, press it down like so with your fingers. Now, I don't like the way this looks. I would like my border fabric to be a little bit wider. So remember, I cut it down 18 inches wide, and then the display fabric was 15 inches. I'm going to turn it right side inside, or turn it inside out rather. And I'm going to just open one side. I'm going to open one side up, and then I'm going to trim the display fabric down. Okay, so I've opened one side, so I left one side sewn, and I've opened one side. And what I'm going to do, because this was measured at 15 inches, I'm going to take about another 2 inches off, because I really want that border to show. So I'm going to take another 2 inches off. So altogether, I would say that if you're measuring 18 inches wide for your border fabric, you want to have your display fabric at, you know what, I want to take 4 inches off. You want to have your display fabric at 12 inches. So it's going to be 18 by 12 inches. So 18 inches for the border and 12 inches for the display fabric. And that should give you a nice size border. So I took a nice chunk off here. And then we're going to turn it the same way once again, and then pair up edge to edge like we did on this side. And pin in place and take it to the sewing machine and stitch a line all the way down. Okay, so once again, this is how it should look, like a little tube. We're going to turn it inside out. And we're going to place the display fabric in the center, like so. So you want to make sure that your border edges are measuring the same on both sides. Okay, so I like the way that looks. Now, some people like a thin border or even a wide border, but I like it, you know, just to at least show. And you want to make sure, like I said, that you have the same measurement here. So 2 fingers here, 2 fingers here for me. Okay, and now you want to take it to the ironing board. You want to press it down nice and neat. Okay, so before we close up these ends here, you want to turn it on the reverse side. Just take a look, and you see how this is uneven here. You want to make sure that your ends are even. So I'm just going to eyeball it and cut it off so now it's even. You don't want to sew it like that. And then on this side, just a little uneven, but I'm just going to cut it so it's even. All right. Okay. And now you want to pair up seam to seam and pin in place. Okay. And then you want to do the same thing on this side as well, seam to seam. And pin in place. Now, if you're going to add tassels at this point, now is the time to do it. So, you want to take your tassel and you want to put it in the middle where the fold is, like so. And also pin that in place. Do it on both sides. Just slip it in there and then pin it at the fold. Now, take it to your sewing machine and stitch a straight line across. And stitch a straight line across here as well. Okay, so after you've sewn this side together, and this side together with the tassels on the fold. You just want to turn it inside out, and take your finger or maybe your scissors and poke that tassel out. Okay. Press, and then turn it inside out. Okay, so you're almost done, not quite. So the next thing, so you already see how this table runner is formed. You have your border, you have your tassels, okay? So the next thing that you need to do is take it back to the iron and press it in place, just so you can get rid of some of this bulk and everything lays nice and crisp. All right, after you've ironed it, now you want to put in a final top seam. And how you're going to do that is either two ways you can do that. You want to try to stitch in the ditch, which is putting a seam in this area here. So let me give you a closer look on that, what I'm talking about here. So that means that you're going to try to get your needle here and stitch it all the way across inside of that seam there. Or you can use your decorative stitch. If you have a machine that have 50 stitches or 25 decorative stitches, now is the time to experiment here. And what you can do is just simply put it alongside there. Okay, so it doesn't have to go inside of there if that's a little bit too challenging. You can just put it right alongside here, because the goal really is just binding the top side to the bottom side together. That's what you're trying to do here. And then on the reverse side, you'll notice that you'll have this little pocket. Now there's a couple of ways that you can bind this together. You can simply put some hemming tape here and press it, and that will take care of this pocket here. Or you can take a hand needle and a thread and simply whip it a couple of stitches here. If you decide to do a hand needle and thread, you want to sew this area, this part, to just the back part of your table runner. So you don't want to pull the needle all the way through, otherwise you're going to see the stitches there. Okay, so you can do that. Or if you don't mind, you could just simply put a straight stitch across. Okay. So I'm going to simply just put a seam right here. Or maybe I'll put a seam there. I haven't decided yet. But overall, that's how you make a table runner with a border. There's a lot of variations you can use here, a lot of different patterns and fabrics and so forth. And you can either put trim here if you wanted to make it a little bit more festive or decorative. You can put rickrack, festive rickrack underneath to just give it a little bit of decorative touch. You can even put tassel trim at the end of here, and especially around Christmas time or the holidays, or so there's so many things that you can do with this easy to make table runner. That's all for today. Thank you so much for joining in, and for more tutorials you can always log on to sewitandshow.com. Please subscribe to the channel and post comments below, and thank you so much for watching. As always, I'll see you next time.